Greetings and salutations, my friends. Welcome to a very special video. Today I'm going to blind react, this is a dangerous thing with Football Manager, to their features video. I knew that it was obviously coming out this week. They tweeted about it and I was like, okay, I'm going to avoid it. I'm not even going to look at the replies. I know nothing about this so far. I'm going to give you my little hope. It's only going to take like a minute and then we'll get straight into it. So, my hope is, I think from the video I did on FM23, pretty much everybody assumed, and rightly so, that the set piece was going to be redone. The whole set piece creator. It's just archaic, it's old, it's out of date, it's rubbish, it's useless. We can all agree on that. I think that's the one feature that we can all agree on needs fixing. Now, my big hope, and I'm 0% sure that this will actually be in this video, Football Manager needs a dynamic world. And what I mean by that is, let's say me and you, we play some single player game, we both manage Liverpool, and we both manage Liverpool for 20 seasons, and then we swap save files just to see what the other guy's done. I want that new save file to have just totally different rules. I want there to be, in his save, maybe in his save, there's a Super League. Maybe there's 24 teams in the Premier League. All sorts of, if you think of all the rule changes, like when VAR came in and all this sort of stuff, changes to the World Cup, all this sort of stuff, I want it to evolve on its own so that your save can look very different if you just played it twice and you'd get to there. I just don't see that happening whatsoever. I think we're going to get set pieces, lots of little tweaks and upgrades across the line. I don't know. I have no idea if they're not counting set pieces as the main feature, what is the main feature? I guess I could just click this video and look. Right, apparently it's 42 minutes long, so I'll be doing the highlights. The lovely James Lawrence Alcott taking charge. Very good person to get on, because not only is he a good presenter, he knows his football, and he loves Football Manager, so good. Right, are they wheeling Miles out? Headline feature reveal.
Miles, good to see you again.
There he is.
You too.
The main man.
Welcome. Although really
nervous.
Welcoming me.
Into the studio, which has been awesome. It's always good to have new colleagues, and some of those have been working on FM23.
New puffer jackets, everybody. Is this the headline feature? Sorry, what?
Well.
Okay.
It's
a scarf.
Of success.
Mental.
For us. FM22 has been played by more people than have played an FM game before. With well over 3 million people playing the game. We've sold a couple of million copies of it as well, which is great. That means we get to make another one, which is awesome. That's why we're still here today.
Recruitment has been one of the most enhanced
areas good.
Of FM23.
Maybe they'll put in different bits.
How has real life for you sort of inspired those changes?
No,
because FM is
tell us what the changes are. Don't just sort of talk around what the things are.
A lot about how
so there's lots of interesting changes to the game with regards to recruitment. Now let's talk about something.
many years.
Just tell us.
What we've
just
done
tell us.
in the last couple of years has actually spoken to them more about how they are using the data directly. So from their perspective, and it's become a really important thing inside the studio.
Okay, so they're still yet to talk about the actual feature, but they're talking about the fact they're talking to people about the feature.
People who are scouts, people who are recruitment.
Who else did you talk to?
People who actually buy and sell.
This is great. Love the fact that you get, but I want to know what the actual
directors.
Hello.
We're trying to get much closer to the reality of the day-to-day of.
Are we going to talk about the game?
Most departments.
Yes.
But also, how often do you have meetings with the manager? How often do you have meetings with the owner? And the different structures that go in football. So that's been a really important part of what we've wanted to look at, but I'm not going to tell you how it works in the game because I'm going to let Cyrus do that instead.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So lovely to chat to you again.
Miley?
I'm excited to play the game myself and excited to talk about these new features with some of your guys in the next few minutes. Thanks for chatting with me.
Great. Didn't say anything, but good.
Right then, guys, let's get in.
I don't mind this.
Juicy
Recruitment is
new
poor.
Features. Cyrus joins me right now.
Miley's let herself
game
go.
Designer, and you've got some good stuff here to tell me about. 4 key aspects, guys, that we're going to talk about here. Cyrus, let's kick off with the first one. We've got
Different
3
value transfer
key
bits.
elements, and then something that brings it all together right at the end. So stick around, guys. First up is the squad planner. Tell us about the squad planner.
Yeah, so the squad planner, as you would guess from the name, it's all about helping you plan your recruitment out for the season. So if we take a step back and think about, how, why did we bring in the squad planner? We were trying to assess how a manager looks at recruitment, what are the key stages
But what is it?
Of that process for them. So the way it'll work is we've got a brand new area, squad planner. When you go to it, what you're going to see is your whole team. Right, and then based on your tactic, every single position, you're going to have all the players ranked in terms of
Don't we have that already?
how good they are. And it's
We have that
important to know
already.
this is kind of like a safe space, right? So it's like your secret book, right? Your key striker
Isn't
is
it
not
like
going
team
to get
depth
upset
thing?
when you put him 5th ranked because he'll never know, right? But your staff will know, and they can then start making, suggestions based on what your planner looks like. So you go in, you can rank all your players.
Okay, so you
can
put.
see how
Okay,
they
so the
look.
other one, the team
You
view,
can
is just
start
like telling you
visualising where you're
what rank
strong,
they are
where
based
you're
on their
weak, and
position,
as the
knowledge,
planner
skill,
suggests,
that
start
stuff.
planning for that season. Some of the really cool things is a bit like a dream team. When you're planning, it's maybe not just the players. Maybe you've got long-term targets that you think, how would my team look based around this new midfielder? So
I am not sure if I'll ever need or use this.
So you add a player to your shortlist, you bring them into your planner, you can rank them, see how they compare to your current team. But also we do that with youth, right? So any youth player that you've got, you can bring in and see.
I feel like
and talking about youth,
anybody that's played this game for any length of time already has. If you're managing a team, you already know your first.
Right,
I bet
so
you
you can
right
be
now
thinking
you know your save, your
long-term,
first
how
choice
is my
right back,
team
your
gonna
second
look
choice
in
right back, and your
season's
third
time
choice
from
right
now?
back.
The
And if
idea
you
is
need a
hopefully
right
I'm
back
giving
next
you as much
season,
information as possible.
without
So you can really make a great assessment, which can help you lead
Needing
into that next phase,
this?
which is planning out exactly what you're going to do with your resources.
like it's fine.
I
It's
really
one of those
love
things
the
that
way
I'm
it
like,
looks. When I
okay,
saw it, I
maybe
was
a few
like,
people use
I
it.
get it. It's all intertwined under this umbrella of recruitment.
Yeah.
It's had a real
Okay, that's
shot in
fine.
the arm
It's not all
this
meant for
year
me.
with the
It's
game.
not about being
Let's talk about
selfish.
scouting, because that's the second one
Okay.
that we really want to dive into, and there's a whole raft of changes here. First one, recruitment focuses. There's been a real change on this one, isn't there?
So the idea is now we've switched from assignments to this concept of recruitment focuses. So they work in a very similar way. Your chief scout, if you leave them fully responsible, will base off setting up different focuses.
they just changed
based on
the
what they
name?
think's best. At any time, you can come in and say, I want this focus set up. And you
This
can
all
set a bunch of
exists.
parameters. Position, role, PACA, height, bunch of different things. And they will then go
Right.
off and start searching for that type of
Centimeters.
player.
Because essentially you're saying this is an ability to provide trusted delegation to your team, which is a big part
Okay.
of FM these days. It's not just you anymore because the game's moved on. So
My
in
hypermeter
terms of it
is
affecting your inbox,
currently 3 out of
sometimes
10.
There are, I'm guilty of it myself at times, going da 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 da. There's going to be a strong effect on the inbox.
Yeah, well, the idea is to just reduce the noise a little bit.
Always a good
As you
thing.
said, you get that, what we sometimes call like spacebar fever, right? Like, 25 reports. First 2, 3, maybe you pay attention to, but like most things, by the 23rd, I'm clicking through.
You know me so well.
Yeah, right. So the idea is now that your inbox.
This is the difference about having
is
someone doing an
something
interview
we
that
should
actually
be
plays the game,
careful
not some
about what
random
we put in
presenter.
there, right? So the idea is your staff have done their due diligence. They've hit the maximum they're going to know on a player, and then they say, this is everything we've got on this guy. It's up to you now, based on this information, where you want to go.
So percentages have gone.
So percentages have gone completely, yeah. We no longer say this guy's at 88%.
Yeah, that's
player
done.
knowledge.
That was done. That's
And
always
the
been
main
done.
reason for that is we just wanted to be super clear about how far along in the internal scouting process.
Hundred
we
of
are.
scout coming to you and said,
So
I've only
previously
scouted
you would
88% of
scout a
him, boss.
player, and he could get to 30%, and maybe you've spent 2 weeks on scouting that player, but then there might be another player that you've done no scouting on 65%. That might be because his reputation's super high, or they're playing in the same.
Yeah, I'm
league
fine
as
with
you,
getting
so
rid of
you
that.
actually
It's
know
not
more about
something
them.
I really ever looked at.
And we felt that sometimes that's a bit disconnecting, especially when you're sifting through reports. You're like, well, how much longer has I got left to go? Should I just spacebar and wait? So what we wanted to make it sure is that we make it really clear how far along the process you are, so that you know which information is actionable. So you hit your inbox, you get told this is an extensive report, meaning we're not going to be doing anything more on this. Now it's up to you. Do you want to make
That's
a
good,
decision or
but
not?
it's
Essentially, the scouts now do 4 key
tiny,
stages.
tiny thing.
You set up a focus, or your head scout sets up a focus, and now your team will go grab a big bunch of players that potentially fit that. And at each of the 4 stages, they're going to find out a little bit more about these players and start whittling that list down.
Okay.
So by the end of it, you've got a more refined list of players that have all hit extensive reports.
It's one of those things I think we need to see in practice. But it looks like the same search scouting assignment thing we had before.
Players that more fit what you're needing, but also it gives us this nice ability to say, at the last stage, we now have this concept of near misses. So when you go to your scouting centre, we've revamped how that looks, right? So now
that's good because
you
it's
go
awful.
there, you have an overview page which gives you a great bunch of information. You get some recommended players. We've even put like a sort of guided direction. Maybe you're not sure what you should be doing. You can get little tips. Maybe you want to hire more scouts. Maybe you want this focus might be finished. Maybe you want to set up a different type.
That's fine.
But
That's
when
good.
you
I like
go
that.
to the recruitment focus page specifically, you can select any of the focuses that are set up, and you can, when they're complete, you can hit what we call near misses. And these are guys that have dropped out at the last second. So potentially,
Like the
whatever
almost
criteria you
good
set,
enough.
they've just missed out. Bit too tall, bit too short, bit too old. You know, maybe you've asked for guys that hit 80% pass completion rate, and this guy hit 74. So then it gives you a chance.
I like-
that
it's
if no one in
good,
that list is really
But
doing it
almost,
for you,
I'm like,
you
I'd
can go to
almost
this
like
extra
just to
place
give me
to
the
see,
entire list
okay,
and then
you know,
I'll
maybe
just
I
go
thought I
and
really
I'll.
wanted something,
But that's
this
useful.
actually is now, you know, I'm happy to compromise.
So you're catering for, you know,
Go up
the
to a 4.
laissez-faire FM managers, but also those guys who want that control that, you know, no one's missing, you know, through the net. You've got people with those near misses.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's move on to part 3 of this,
Agents.
which is agents. Now, we've chatted with Miles about how, you know, real life or real football is always being implemented into the game. You're always analysing the game itself to try and make FM as immersive as possible. And agents have become a stronger and stronger part of it.
Sadly.
And you've moved it on again. Their influence is being seen. And
Oh God, you have to
in this game
keep
is
really
good.
good relationships
I mean,
with
agents can
agents,
be
or
a
they
bit
won't sell you any of their
controversial, like, love 'em or
players.
loathe 'em, they're a huge part, especially of top league.
They're not
football.
going anywhere, are they? Yeah.
They're not going anywhere at all. And the reality is, any deal to do with a top player, I mean, any contract, transfer, that agent's the first point of contact. Right? That's who gets called first to see how it's going to go. So what we've done is evolve that. So now when you go talk to an external player and you talk to their agent and you say, are you interested? They give you some ballpark
Ideas.
We now
that-
added
no,
a next step
terrible.
where you can back a little bit. So say you really like a player and his agent's saying, this is the sort of wage they're looking at, and you just know for a fact you're never going to be able to afford that wage. You can now say, this looks great, but we're just never going to come to terms on this
Unnecessary.
wage. And then it depends, you know, on the agent and the player's
feel-
interest. So you get this little back and forth to see if you can come to sort of initial sort of understanding, because it's all great going to talk to an agent, but if there's something you know you're never going to be able to hit, it's nice to just be able to say, is there any compromise here that we can do? So again, we've essentially brought that functionality to your own players. If you want to renew a contract with one of your own players,
Oh, that's
talk to their
good.
agent, and just like external players, they'll give you a feel. Oh, he'd be happy to.
I like that. That's good. That's
for
good.
this sort of package. It's like
I don't mind
getting
that. That's a
feelers
bit more
out. That's what
realistic,
we wanna
going
make
to the
sure that
agent.
there's nothing like officially locked in here.
Okay.
This is just a light touch.
Taking them out to dinner, aren't you?
Yeah.
You know, you're schmoozing a little bit. I see.
Exactly.
Nice. I can tell it in your eye. Your eyes have changed a lot there. As you I get what you're talking about. Let's get on to the fourth feature here, because it kind of brings it all back together again, and something you talk about, the implementation and impact of agents and how you started there and you've moved it forward. And I think that's the same with a lot of elements of the game. But recruitment meetings debuted in FM21.
I think I did 2 recruitment meetings.
Meetings are a tough one in general.
Before I just exit.
Like real life, any meeting
Yeah.
that doesn't have a designated purpose or ends with actionable
And I
information,
don't blame Football
you
Manager for
waste
having
of
boring
time,
meetings, because
the
meetings
more
are
of those
boring.
you
It's like
have,
press
the less
conferences.
likely
I
you
don't
wanna go to the
blame
next
Football
one.
Manager for
So
having
we really
boring,
tried to think,
repetitive press conferences, because real life football has
why
boring,
should you spend
repetitive
your
press
time in this
conferences.
meeting? What can we do? And specifically with the recruitment meeting, we realised that we have to adapt, and these recruitment meetings need to be bespoke for the stage of the season you're in.
That's good.
So we broke it down into 3. First thing we're going to do is show you the new planner. This is how it's set up. Are you happy with it? Do you want to tinker with it? You know, just give you an introduction to this new part of the game that exists.
I don't think
And
it's
then
going to be
the
something I
last
use.
part of that is, here's what your staff think you should be focusing on in terms of recruitment focuses. Here's the ones they're
I'm
gonna set up.
worried
Do you
that
wanna
so
set up any
far
additional ones
nothing
yourself? 'Cause
affects
right now, the very first recruitment you go into, 3 or 4 days into your job, we're hitting
the
you
meat.
with players you might want to sign.
Like, yeah, there's a few extra windows so far.
So that's why, you're no longer going to get that in your first.
But if you took them away, the game would
meeting,
be...
you're
Obviously,
gonna
they've
go
got a lot
execute.
more to talk about.
Right.
But, like, at the
So then in a
moment, there's
few
nothing that
weeks
really affects the
after
actual
that, you're gonna
game of
get another
football
meeting, which is
very
a review
much.
meeting, and that, as the name sounds,
Like,
they're just going to explain to you.
Set pieces.
So we found, based on the focuses, here's potentially who you've signed. So when that deadline day comes around, I can happily sit back. And
I
sit
think
there.
So exciting times when it comes to
a few of these are
recruitment,
solving
be it
problems
if you want
that
a bit more chaos or
don't
you want a bit less chaos.
exist.
Either
That's
way,
the
it's in
only
your hands.
problem.
Yeah, for sure. Just trying to give you as much control as you want, to play it your way. Essentially, that's what Football Manager's all about, right? Creating your own story. So we just want
in a dynamic world where it can change.
To be able to shape that story however you think.
Okay.
So
AI
once
and
you've
animation.
used all those recruitment tools, you got yourself a few wonder kids, a few experienced.
Is it just going to be,
world-class team together?
100 new animations
onto that pitch and see how they perform. And so now we move on to one of the goats, of course, Nick Madden, who's had a promotion, by the way. Now senior match engine producer Nick Madden and lead match QA analyst CJ Ramson to talk about the match engine. And so
this
much
one's a
more.
tough
This
one
is the
because they
juicy
always
bit,
talk
guys.
about it like it's
exciting.
game changing, but then it's like
We've got a lot of love
essentially
for
it's
the game
tweaks.
last year, which is nice, isn't it? Oh. How do you feel about that, and what can we expect this year?
Yeah, it was absolutely phenomenal, the reception last year to all of the features and
Sort your sound levels out.
Still the amount of players that are playing FM22. We're incredibly proud. So many people scoring a load of goals, sort of tearing up the script themselves, and yeah, it's about us this year. Again, trying to beat ourselves.
Masturbation.
It's so difficult yet so rewarding to work on something that is never finished. Because we're iterating.
Is that
every
though?
year upon the match engine.
Is that
And, yeah, we
rewarding
wanna
to
take
work
it
on
to
something
the
that's
levels.
never finished? I feel
With
like it's the
FM23,
opposite.
We've spent the majority of our cycle working on our AI managers. So we, like at Football Manager, we look at every single manager across the world. So we have 1,000 scouts.
This is good. If it's more
all across the world,
dynamic
and we look at
AI,
different data points of all the managers. So we want to simulate those managers in the best way possible. So we want them to have their tactical styles be reflected in the match engine and in the AI simulation. So the AI managers are essentially
that's great.
all of those
I want to know if
managers across the world,
an individual
how
AI
we
manager is going to
represent
adapt
them,
more.
how we represent their playing style, and overall,
Or do
how
they just always
play within the
play their
simulation world.
favoured
Now
formation
our
that they're
AI
known
managers,
for?
They can select the right formation.
Okay.
They can select the right tactical instructions to hopefully go into that tactical battle with not just the human manager, but also the other AI managers.
Wow.
Because we're simulating.
But how much are they
thousands upon
varying it
thousands
up?
and millions upon millions of
I want
matches, all in the background.
that AI manager that
So
I
we
beat
want
last
to make sure that
season
simulation
to
works.
maybe try a different tactic against us if we're
Like
using the
really
same
cool,
tactic. But
realistic,
that might be a
and
bit too
when
hard for.
you're playing in a match, you feel like there's that tactical battle. You feel like you're being tested, but also, that the AI manager is representing what we're getting from the data.
In terms of that sophistication, that's where you come in when it comes to the testing, I would imagine, CJ. How extensive is that? Tell me about your
Very.
role here at FM.
I'm going to guess.
So the main part of my role within the team is to kind of lead the team in making sure that our testing and the final match engine is as close to real life as we can get. So we watch a lot of real football, obviously in our spare time, casually, but also at work during meetings. We'll have meetings where we watch a full match of football, and it won't just be looking at the scoreline or attacking defensive play. We'll really break it down. So how does this team press? We'll compare a low block to a high press. We'll compare different types of manager styles to really see, is that reflected
I don't
in
like
game,
fluff talk
and
in these
does
videos.
Football Manager look as close
Because
to
you can
real life
say
as
stuff, but
possible.
tell me the
Along with
effect
watching
on the
real
actual
football
game.
as well.
Yes.
We also watch a lot of the match engine, not just playing the game ourselves, but also as a team, we'll be watching matches, breaking them down, and trying to find where we can make improvements from that.
We're not
That
really
feeling
learning
of,
anything, though.
It being real is quite an elusive term for you to sort of try and get to grips with and then apply within a game. So in terms of to try and get across that reality from one to a video game, how tough is that for you each year? How much are you watching?
As we're all fans of football, we will know how random football can be. You never know, an underdog can be a big team, or a big team can have 20 shots a game and
And you never want to lose that, do you?
You never want to, but in real life it happens. You can have the high XG, you can have the high expected score, but sometimes you just don't win. So trying to reflect all these things, but also reflect how some of the top teams play with a variety of styles at the same time. It's difficult to get the balance, but it's something I feel in recent years, and especially this year, we've managed to get looking really good. One of the main things we really wanted to do was improve the defensive side of the football.
Okay.
As much as everyone loves to go forward and press high and attack, we also want you to be able to kind of sit in a low block and be able to soak pressure and counter-attack as well, so you have the tools to be able to
Oh, so is
defend
that
as
them
well as
admitting
attack.
that like
And
just
one of the
pressing was
main
way
things
too
we really
overpowered?
wanted
Like
to
it
improve
probably is the
was
best way
how
to play
teams
football,
can
but it's
soak up
also
pressure and then attack on the
because I'm crap at
transition
it.
and
It felt like the
attack on
only
the
way I
break.
could play football.
Kind of utilising that example of that trend of the defensive nature.
Because I'd love to be able to play with a
changed
long ball
the
counter attack
game.
inside.
Also,
I just never get it to
think that's
work.
something is that there is an evolution of language when we talk about football, and I think FM are a huge part of that in terms of understanding how things work, analytics, which is a big part of last year's game. So talk to me about that, because there are some changes in the wording, but also the defensive
tactical
instructions as well.
instructions.
Yeah, so this year we've
Okay.
added in a lot of more
This
instructions.
is good.
to the
This is
defensive
good.
side. So when our player base, as soon as they load up FM23, they go to the out of possession tactics, they're going to see a change straight off the bat. The first one is really trying to simplify the line.
Let's
of
get stuck
engagement
in.
and the terminology that's used, because we feel that it's really hard to get across what a much
That's
higher
better.
line
I like
really is
that.
and what that represents.
Can't believe I can't get stuck in
we
anymore.
thought, well, why don't we simplify this, but also make it more football specific, make it more the language that you're hearing on television and by real life managers and interviews. So we've gone for that low block, mid block,
Yeah, that's
and
fine.
high
That's
press.
good.
So we've simplified that, but also it enables the end user
Yeah,
of
it's
the
just a
game
rename.
to have
Don't-
more control.
When it comes
not a
to
feature.
the players themselves, then talk to me about that. We talk about formation and those broad strokes. What about the players themselves?
So yeah, we've made honestly numerous of changes.
Not
to
numerous.
match engine and our players' decisions. I guess I'll start at the back. So our goalkeepers now, they have the ability to do K blocks and spreads and
Spread
spread blocks. So
themselves.
our goalkeepers will
They might
now
actually save a
look
one-on-one.
bigger, more intimidating in those.
Oh, that's
one-on-one
so much better.
situations.
That's so
it's about
good.
them
That annoys me
being
so
a lot
much when the
more
goalkeeper doesn't
natural,
even
playing
move.
like that
Oh,
goalkeeper
I
that you
love
see,
that.
world-class
It's one of the most
goalkeepers. They're
infuriating
also
things to
much
watch
better
as a
with the
former
ball
fat
at their
goalkeeper,
feet.
because I was fat, because
And
that's,
the
you
setups
become a goalkeeper
for
if you're fat,
goalkeepers,
if you
both
don't know.
short and long,
because last
we've
pick.
had to make a lot of adjustments and a lot of improvements there. I think the biggest improvement that people will see is how well defenders deal with the ball aerially, and how they look to adjust their body position to make that header, the trajectory of that defensive header as well. The main thing that I found like brilliant this year with our defensive play is not just the pressing, but also the sort of the back pressure. I feel like in previous FMs, like the midfielders or the attackers, they didn't really feel that pressure behind them as much. It feels now that with the pressing angles.
This is
that
good.
we're
this
bringing
is really
forward,
good.
and also the way that
But
players
it's one of
do
those things
tackle.
we have to play,
So
get
they
our
won't just
hands
go
on the
for that
game
slide tackle hell for leather
before we
every
can really
time.
tell if
Like,
this
they will
works
look to try
well.
and can they intercept? Can they block? Can they poke that ball away? So it's a lot more nuanced, and yeah, especially with that
Got cheats
defensive
on.
stability, they look to, I can quickly nip in there. I'll quickly step in and get that
So
interception.
this
and
is
then we
really
can
good.
break. So yeah,
'Cause this is the meat of the game, isn't it, at the end of the day?
That, those breakups in play and that like sort of chaotic nature of that like midfield zone, that's what we've really tried to replicate this year, is the chaos of football, not just the pretty tiki-taka, like it is about like making the engine feel believable.
Because we spoke about the animation engine last year, and I remember your face
This is
lighting
really
up
good.
as
I
you
like
were
this
about to
bit.
tell me about it. What's happening this year with the animation engine?
We've added 30 new
Yeah, so
animations.
talking about the animation engine last year, I was so excited because it was the foundations. Like the new engine was the foundations for us to go forward. And this year we have overhauled all of our on-ball actions. So last year we touched a bit on it with the dribbling first touches. We have overhauled the selection criteria for every single action that you have in the game, on the ball, so that it really looks
Okay.
at anything where it could be.
That's one of those
the
ones that
ball
could
incoming
mean
speed, the
massive,
outgoing
could be
speed,
massive, or
where
could
the ball
you
is
wouldn't
coming
notice. You
from,
wouldn't
where it
notice
is
if you'd
to
never
go
said that.
next. Hopefully our fans will see the kicks.
It's
now
all
are
about
ready
we have to get our hands on
that's
it to
finished.
see if
There's
this is
a lot more variety
true.
in there, but also it feels a lot like more realistic to the context.
It's good
of
though.
what's
This is
going
good
on.
signs the
You
way
know,
they're talking
playing
about it.
with the outside of the foot versus the inside of the foot.
Can they be excited this year?
It just
No.
feels a lot more real to me.
Actually,
and
it's a bang
I'm
average
really
year,
excited
James.
about it.
Thanks for bringing
Our
it up. We're
testing
not
team
actually. It's
are
probably best if you'd probably skip this year.
harsher than even people in the public. So we have very high standards of ourselves. So we want it to be the best yet for our fans.
Official. Oh yeah, because they already announced this, didn't they?
FM23
Champions League license
is on its way, as is the
Doesn't make any
UEFA club
difference, really,
competitions
to-
being fully licensed in this new game. Danny Quinn,
It's good for people that don't like
downloading
downloading stuff, though.
junior game designer, join me now to celebrate that fact. Danny, talk to me about when you get a new license in FM and what that entails.
Do they need to talk
Sure,
about it
well, I
though?
mean, with trophy lifts, we've got bespoke trophy podiums for each of those competitions this year. So each of those will
Woo!
look and
Will they
feel
actually
like
lift a
they're very
trophy
prominent
or an
there, or
invisible
else we
one
can,
or a
you know.
white one
And
sometimes?
then even down to things like sleeve patches. So we've had to incorporate, and this is the benefit as well. We're looking for something that's going to maximise the license and find those opportunities. But some of those extra opportunities trickle into our other licenses as well. So we're having to have sleeve patches that are dynamically changed depending on the competition you're in. By having that feature in, having that technology available to us, functionality, it means that we can apply that. You mentioned QPR and on your save. If you leave the championship, you'll no longer wear the championship sleeve patch. If you were to get relegated, you'd wear a League One sleeve
I
patch.
did that.
Yeah, but
we didn't
but
need to
even
go
if
down
you got
that road.
promoted as well, you still get the Carabao Cup ones. And things. But it's those that making sure that they all dynamically show the correct competition you're in as well, because we wanted to make it possible for the
Dynamically
that functionality there, which
upgradable
there for promotion, relegation,
arm
and even if you
patches,
are the
people.
winner of the Champions League the following season, you get the winner's sleeve
If you're in the
patch.
Champions League,
So this is
Champions
like
League arm
gorgeous
patch.
little
If you're in the
touches, isn't it?
Championship,
Just able
boom,
to
get
sort of
promoted, it's
go
gone.
forth.
Boom,
That's,
Premier
I guess,
League.
obviously, what
Love
you
it.
do with it all. How's it been working with the UEFA brand?
I mean, it's obviously such an amazing opportunity.
It's great
to
that they have the
bring
licenses, but,
everyone
like,
in
it-
football
like-
knows that everyone wants to reach the
And maybe there's
Champions League when they play
I'm in
Football
the sort of
Manager.
subsection of
So
people
to
that
have the
download all sorts of
opportunity to
add-ons for
take
their game,
some
but
of that
probably there's like
excitement
80% of probably
add it
FM
to
fans
our
that never
game
download anything. So
has
maybe
just
that this
been
is really good
so
for
great.
them.
We were
But
talking
for me as a
about the cup draws
regular,
before we started filming, and
it's
you were saying some
it's
lovely stuff
indifferent.
about that feeling of celebration and what it will bring this year. Talk to me about that.
So what we really wanted to do was just add a greater sense of we don't just want it to be another feature. The license and
I think in the past
Might be different to other games where you in
game as well. How's that felt? Play it
level has been sort of kept
a little bit different because
was something that
in point I thank you both for that. Thank you for
Okay,
taking a bit of time
we've
and
only
chatting
got
about it. I'm
8-9
excited
minutes
to
left
get
of
into the
this
Champions
video.
League. Fans make football, and
Okay.
in FM23, their voices
don't mind
are being
supporter
represented
confidence.
by the new supporter confidence.
Feel like they can put pressure on the
feature
board and stuff.
To help me bring a bit of French sophistication and just to explain this whole process is lead game designer
Remy.
Thank you for sitting down. We've had a chat about all
The
sorts
Remster.
already before we started rolling it, but I'm so excited to talk about this supporter confidence.
Is that just
I'm so
gonna
excited.
put pressure on the board to
as
sack
a
you or
manager in
not?
the game myself,
Or give you a new contract?
I've had some moments with the fans over the years. So it also brings a little bit of nerves for me, and I imagine it will do for fans playing the game this year as well. First of all, explain to me what the
How is this
supporter
used?
confidence feature is.
Well, Football Manager is very much about stories, right? The stories that you tell yourself, the choices that you make all throughout the game.
When you go for a job interview and they're like,
And,
"Oh, I
but
see you've
these stories are
your
not
supporter confidence was only
specifically about
37% at your
matches,
last club."
Not specifically about players. It's
You gonna
more
change that
about
here?
The world of football. And when the design team really evaluated what was in and
I'm
tried to
guessing
quantify the stories that were already created.
There is
by
one
the
more
players.
section after this.
The rationale here was
I'm worried
fans are
that
a
set
big
pieces
part
haven't
of
been touched.
football, but they are not really a big part of the game yet. And this is
So what's
something that we should probably.
didn't-
work
there's a
on,
little bit
is
more, but
we
what
did.
it-
So,
what's the
it was
headline
really
feature
about,
then?
Making sure that
The
that fans were
planner
represented
thing?
in one way, but that would
recruitment
also impact directly
planner?
the gameplay of the game and your choices.
Because it says
And
headline
visually,
feature
literally,
reveal.
you know, as you see it within the game.
And I'm not trying to sound rude. I love this game and I'll play it. Even if I had
in the game,
no
you're
YouTube
really-
channel or my
you're going to
career
be
wasn't
able to
based on it,
see the
I'd
breakdown
play this
of that
game
fan base,
to death.
directly on screen. So
But I don't see a
when
headline
you're making the choice of
feature.
which
It's
club you're
recruitment
going to
revamp.
manage, you're going to see like
The match and
what-
animation stuff
what's
was
the
really good.
proportion
Love
of
that. Most of that
casual,
stuff looked really
hardcore,
good. Loving
fair
that.
weather type of fans as well.
Competitive license is great.
So, this is something that you're going
Recruitment
to
revamp. I
really
think a lot of it I'm just not going to
look at it
use.
in terms of percentages and breakdown and
Oh, look, this
how
is
it
good.
impacts your
Oh,
team.
look,
So the
hardcore and
research
core.
team
Hang
tried
on.
to be really just look at it in terms of
Corporate casuals. Plastics. Where's the plastics? Look, Man City would be a big section. Supporters. Oh, okay. Social media followers. Season ticket holders, we know anyway. Season ticket waiting list. Right. I like that. That's a nice. Like it. Nice. Like it. Brilliant.
percentages and to capture all of these key differences with some parts of the research that will be directly exposed in the game with the different supporter profiles that you're going to see and also some behind the scene attributes that we're going to use to base our systems. So how much of an influence do your fans have on the boards? How much of an influence they have on your job security as well?
That's good.
How,
you know, it's realistic.
How patient
As
are
we
they
have
with
seen.
your choices? How passionate are they with them as well? There are some
There's
bits
no
here and there that
There's no headline
in the
feature.
future team
I think.
we can use to really
Wait, there's
build
one
the
more
best
section.
and the
It's going to
most
be
interesting
really
features
minimal,
that-
isn't it?
that we can.
We've
In
improved
your
the
first,
credit
this is your
system.
first game, right? How do you feel about this in the fact that are you going to make people lose their jobs? That's going to be on you. Are you going to be okay with that?
It's his fault. We're blaming him.
So that's
Or
a
will it
possibility.
allow
Remy,
people
for
to keep
fuck's sake, Remy.
So that's the two sides of the coin, right?
They might
So,
keep his job, yeah.
the fans will have a big say about your job security, but it's depending on that.
But
on
can
the
you
club,
do anything to affect
you're
that other than
managing.
playing,
But yes,
winning football
that's
matches,
what
using
I'm
the right
most excited
tactics
about
and
is
stuff,
that,
like
well, you know,
just being
when we are
successful? Like,
working on a,
or is
on
there
a-
actual
on a
stuff
new
you can
feature,
do with
we
the
are also
fans,
trying
spend some
to,
money, or
assess what is the story
do
that
meetings
that
with the
we're trying to tell,
fans
but
to actually
also what
improve that, or we
impact
just have to
does it
hope
have
that we've got good
on the
fans?
actual
That's the only
gameplay,
thing.
on your choices. And here they will definitely have an impact.
Maybe you just said it
and
and
it's
I've
one
just
of
ignored
the
it.
It's one of the most crucial systems that we have in the game, right? It's your ability to keep your job and to keep managing the club that you like.
Or Monza.
And essentially, if you're ignoring the fans where they have a huge influence on the board.
Say ignoring
yes,
the fans,
that
are they
might,
going to
put
call
you
out
into-
stuff that
in
they want to
trouble.
see?
One of the most visual additions to FM23 is the dynamic manager timeline. Ali
Okay.
Skews, the
Is this
senior
just like a
game
history
designer,
with
joins me now
images?
to talk through this. As we said, very, very visual
I don't mean
element
to
of
be
the game.
belittle
this year.
his
Tell me
this
about it.
guy's job. He's probably
Yeah,
spent the
so,
last year on it.
Basically, what Dynamic Manager Timeline is reframing what.
So is it
we
just
do
like,
in
you
milestones
started
and
here and then you
achievements
won a
in the
cup and
FM.
then you do this? And
So right now, it's a list of very objective milestones and achievements, so like winning.
it's
the
crap.
league,
As of now, that whole
we've got all
manager
those
history
kind
stuff,
of
it's
objective
blah,
ones there.
ugly.
We wanted to include the subjective elements. Those are what really define the story. So we really wanted to reinforce those storytelling elements and really highlight to a player that every save is unique to them, really.
Then make
What
it a
do
dynamic
you expect to see
world.
in terms of this, and
Please.
when does it sort of arrive in the game?
Yeah, so it
I'll have a
comes
rant
in
after
the
this video.
end of season review. When we kind of talked about it, we were looking at what really we consider to be our favourite things in Football Manager.
Okay.
So like signing a bargain player or
It's fine.
integrating a new gen from the youth team. These are the things that like really excite us.
It's one of those cool things you maybe look at twice.
Representation of that.
So this is a kind of a new way of evoking.
They're
some
missing a headline
nostalgia.
feature. I know they're
Imagine.
putting
Because
women's
also,
football
I
in, and
guess,
I know they're having to do a
in
ton of
terms
work to do that,
you
and
know,
maybe
if it's 1 year,
maybe
it's
that's
gonna
probably
be-
coming
there's gonna be
next
so
year.
much that sort of comes at you. But once you've been,
But I gotta be
managing
honest.
20 years, I don't know what your PB is in terms of how many seasons you've done. On
You never know
Football
until you get your
Manager,
hands
but
on the
as that
game and
goes
how
on,
it
that-
feels,
that
especially when you're
dynamic
talking about a lot of the
timeline's gonna
animations and the
look
match and that all sorts of
pretty
stuff.
extensive. What will be included?
You never
in
really
the
know
pipeline?
Yeah, like nostalgia is a great.
how
one.
improved it is until you get playing it. So
Everyone
I'm not
talks
going to comment on that.
about
From what they've said, that looks
talks
great.
about how many times we've
The
watched
rest
the
of it,
about these, like, special player.
The problem I have is so much of the rest of it is
the time that you beat your
sections that a small percentage might use.
4 years of not doing.
Like, let's just take this one, for example, right? Where it's a nice little pretty timeline of random things that happen when you're in the job. I'm sure we're all going to have a look at it and go, cool, that's, oh yeah, cool. And then never touch it again.
But it means so much.
But that takes up
Is the aim really
20% of a headline
features
features video. That's that's my worry.
when you're sort of not in the grind of your
And
your
no
essence,
set
that moment
piece,
to step back
no
and see
set
what you
pieces,
along the way.
nothing.
Yeah,
No mention. I'm sure there's other stuff. But this means that even if it's, you know, they might make set piece, add a couple of options to set pieces, but this does mean, because it's headline features, they've not revamped the whole system 100%, which is
And in that stage,
archaic.
I'd
'cause
imagine
that's-
there's, you know,
that
memorable
system is
moments,
terrible.
Memorable players as well.
Um,
Who's the guy? Who was the guy in that stage?
The guy for me was Felipe Greco, who played as number 10. I think he had like 18 techniques, so he was just a beautiful player to watch.
Yeah.
This is the great thing about it. You have, when you have these kind of wonder kids who
I
perform miracles for you.
can see people people complain about every version of FM, but I can see people not being the most excited about this version. But then everything is subjective, right? Because the fact is that the recruitment revamp, that whole squad planner thing, might be something I never use. Probably I'll look at and go, cool, never use it again. But there might be a big chunk of people that do. So just, you know, so you've got to remember that when you're saying, fuck, this new game is shit because I don't give a shit about that new feature. Yeah, but 500,000 people might, so it's worth them doing. So always bear with that in mind. I know I'm trying to teach subtlety on the internet, but like, always bear that in mind.
The Football Manager team will be providing even more detail on these additions, as well as other improved gameplay areas in the coming days and weeks across the website and exclusive members hub.
Good job from James. Well done, James.
So
well done,
sign
Jimbo.
up and keep an eye on their socials.
But you did good presenting.
Football Manager
I like the way they do
2023
this
is
every
released
year.
worldwide on November the 8th. And if you pre-purchase now on PC or Mac, you can secure
I do like the way they do
20%
this now,
off
rather than Miles
and
tweeting
early
out random
access.
shit
All
for 3
details months. are in the description below.
This feels
Thank
a
you
bit
for
more
joining me.
professional.
I've had a blast and can't wait to get
The feature roulette. Okay. So puffer jacket. Is that? Secretly, that is the headline feature reveal because there was a scarf on a. Okay, so chat with Miles. Obviously, and he's talked about this at the beginning. If I don't include it, COVID still exists. I know we're all pretending it doesn't, but COVID is fucking up a lot of businesses, and it still causes a lot of trouble. So I still didn't expect a full go version, despite the fact they've increased their team and stuff, because it still is a nightmare. If you own any sort of business, you'll know. So yeah, intro, recruitment. This guy, like the way he talks, good speaker. Planner. I don't see, and this is very personal, I don't see how I'm ever going to need or use this. Like, current season, next season, season after. I don't plan that far ahead, because my best left-back might just piss me off on a whim, and I sell him. So it's not like I'm planning plan of attack over the next 3 years. I'm not that intelligent. But like I said, this might be good for some. Let me know, please, in the comments, if any of these things you actually think, oh, this is great. Because that's the problem, isn't it? We're all just going from our own views. So if there's any parts of these sections that you loved or hated, let me know in the comments. I'm generally interested. Yeah, so, and then this recruitment focus is just very, very similar. The same. Very, very similar to what we already had. It was just called something, but it was still, you set up the recruitment and you look at, yeah. So that's not a new feature, although maybe tweaked and added on to. Then we've got the scouting. And the agent stuff I'm fine with because they do play a massive part in the game. It's not one of your best FM. I've talked about this before. I defend Football Manager a lot because people attack it, sometimes legitimately, but also sometimes like just terrible reasoning. It's like, oh, it's the same game as last year. It's because it's emulating a real thing. So you can't just say, hey guys, FM23, we're going to base it in space with zero gravity, right? And cars. you can't do that because they're copying a thing. So you can't make a ton of changes if you're trying to exactly copy a thing that already exists. So you can't just add on a multi-ball or like extra time multi-ball. Just saying. Yeah. The thing I was most excited about in this whole video was goalkeeper animations and them actually making themselves big. You know, trying to stop a football going in the goal. I know it's crazy. It's crazy. But that stuff, I think, we need to obviously see it in game and everything. Overall, my hype meter is on about a 4. And that's not necessarily a terrible score because it's Football Manager. So my hype meter is never that high because there's never anything that blows my mind, right? I think a 5 or a 6 is a good score for Football Manager. But the fact is there's no set piece, which is, I'm pretty sure, the only thing that the vast majority of fans agree on needing work. You know, people criticise certain aspects of the game, but other people will like those bits. Everybody hates the set piece creator. Right, there we go. My reactions. Of course, I will be playing it, and I'm hopeful that my goalkeeper will save a one-on-one with his arm or leg or something, because goalkeepers, we can only dream. Right, let me know what you think. And like I said, if there's any of these stuff, like, that you find personally useful, please do tell me, because it's important to let other people know that are just hating on stuff, that actually that's really important to me. But there we go. Obviously, I will be doing lots of FM23 content when it comes out in November, all that good stuff. So stay tuned. If you are new to the channel, please feel free to like, feel free to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.